Hey, welcome to the Pharmacy Residency and Money Podcast, a member of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. I'm Tony Guerra, pharmacist and publisher, bringing you help succeeding in your career, health, and wealth before, during, and after residency. You can sign up for the email list at pharmacyresidencypodcast.com to get your free LOI template or get editing help working one-on-one with me at residency.teachable.com. Before we get started with the show, I just want to tell you what we're doing, which is that we are giving you the optimal order for investing your money from a video made by Tae Kim of the Financial Tortoise. So it's emergency fund, employer match, high interest debt, Roth IRA, HSA. We'll talk about that in part one. Then we'll do 529, max 401k, taxable account, lower interest debt, and pay off the mortgage in episode two. But I can tell you that as you are moving toward applying to residency or even your PGY2 or moving into a job, more and more as I've gotten older, the most important thing is that that job fits in with your life and that you come home from that job at least somewhat satisfied with what you do. But I tell you that the time freedom that I have in my job is amazing. And was it easy saying yes to a $52,000 a year job? It actually ended up being like closer to 65 or 70 in 15 years ago when I took it. No, it wasn't easy, but it was important that one, I had set the financial foundation that I could do that. And two, I have found that the memories and the experiences that I've had with my family and children have been much more valuable than any amount of return on investment or money that I would have had. So as you're looking to your letter of intent and you start struggling with it, certainly go to residency.teachable.com. You sign up, you can work with me. But I just wanted to tell you what it really is. That letter of intent is doing two things. One, it's really figuring out where you really want to go that fits with you and your lifestyle. But two, it's having somebody that can really help you get there, because it's not about getting the prestige one. It's about getting the one that gives you the most time freedom. And I assure you, as you get into residency and you're hearing about all these nightmares with students that are doing 12-2s, which is you work 12 days and you're off 2, then do it all over again. And you're sitting there with, a relatively reasonable schedule where you have relationships, you're meeting friends, you're doing your research, and you're just basically having a good life. I think that it all comes down to being financially savvy and understanding where you can find that. So Tae Kim, the Financial Tortoise, I recommend listening to his YouTube channel or watching his YouTube channel. I think it's phenomenal, but we're going to hear from him here, and he's going to give us the first 5 of that order of investing, and then we'll get the other 5 in the next episode. So let's get started with the show. Hey, welcome to the Pharmacy Residency Podcast, a member of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. I'm excited to have Tae Kim on, who is the owner of the Financial Tortoise, which is a channel I follow on YouTube. Many of you follow me on Tony PharmD, and I know that I have pharmacology. I know that I have residency stuff there. But what we're going to talk about here is one of his videos, his most popular videos, which is kind of an order of operations or order in which to put your money. I think that asset allocation or where you're supposed to put your money is sometimes needlessly complex. And I think when we have this conversation, it's going to hopefully make a lot more sense. And then we can talk a little bit about how you can meet one-on-one with him if there's some things that, maybe particular to your situation. But I just want to make clear he is not a financial planner, but has a fantastic financial channel. So Tae, welcome to the Pharmacy Residency Podcast.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Tony.
Can you first maybe introduce us to what made you put the podcast together and what got you so excited about finances and your method of growing your money slowly seems to really resonate with a very risk-averse group of pharmacists.
Yeah, so as you alluded to earlier, I have a channel, a YouTube channel called Financial Tortoise. So then the base of the, I guess, the ideology behind the channel is this concept of slow and steady, based upon the tortoise and the hare, the fabled tortoise and the hare. I think the finance world, I mean, based on personal experience, there is just so much information out there that's hard to filter through. And then there's also a lot of chatter regarding, making money quickly. But then I think the combination of complexity and the desire to make money quickly gets a lot of people into trouble very quickly. So I think that's where my philosophy about, money has been, don't try to rush it, take it slow. But then at the same time, when we're taking it slow, a lot of the concept of simplifying how we approach things, not overcomplicating, is actually one of the surest ways to really grow our wealth. So that's kind of the general theme of the channel. I've been running it for about a couple of years now. Previously, in my previous life, I was a finance director for like a $250 million company, just running corporate finance stuff. But then I was always interested in personal finance. When I got before I became a finance director, I got my MBA. And that was I had a 6-figure student loan that my wife and we paid off. And that was kind of the start of our financial journey. And then having 6 figures of student loans that we were burdened with, that we had to pay down, I think it was kind of a blessing in disguise. It really forced us to learn money, and then forced us to budget, learn to live below our means, which, carried us forward to being able to, be in a really better financial position today.
Yeah, Dave Ramsey talks about how losing everything was the best thing that ever happened to him, where he over-leveraged all of his real estate, and the banks called all of his loans at the same time, and he just didn't have the money to cover it. Well, let's actually start with student loans, and then we'll talk about the emergency fund, because one of the things that I always hear is, well, I have these student loans. Why wouldn't I pay the interest on the student loans? Why would I develop an emergency fund? And the average pharmacy student is graduating with $160,000 in debt. Private schools are a little bit more. Public schools are a little bit less. That's actually down from $170,000. But this pause has made things really tough, in that people have just gone on with their lives. And so, can you explain the rationale behind the emergency fund being kind of the first thing you do, rather than just be the hare? Let's go back to the fable and just kind of be the hare and like, I just want to pay these things down. Let's just start throwing money at the loans.
Yeah. So I think what do you call it? Money is more of an emotional game rather than a mathematical game. So I think that's where, we always, very intelligent people. I mean, a lot of the pharmacists that's on your podcast are very smart people. That's why they got into pharmacy school, and very analytical. So I think a lot of times we approach, life's problems, and money being one of them, in a very analytical perspective, like looking at, okay, if I, use this methodology to pay down my student loan by this much, and then I increase it by 2.4% by year, then I would have it paid off by, within 2.6 years. So I think we approach it that way, but we as humans, we don't behave in a very logical way. And that's where we have to factor in that emotional component of how do we sustain good habits for a long period of time, that we are tackling this student loan for a long period of time. And that's where emergency fund plays kind of this foundational role in giving us this cushion in life. I like to use a analogy of bowling alley bumpers. You know how when you go bowling,
guardrails,
the guardrails, yeah. When you're first starting out, or it's more for the kids, like you're teaching them how to bowl, and they get all discouraged if the ball goes into the gutter. So then you have the guardrails, and then you're still in the game. So then you're still getting, your ball, however you throw it down the lane, as long as you throw it, it's going to make it to the other end.
Right.
So emergency fund, I like to kind of think of it like guardrails. We're going to have this grandiose plan to pay down our student loans. However, life is always going to happen. our car's going to break down, our kid's going to need, braces a year earlier than we thought. There's, just emergencies that like your water heater is going to break down, something.
Mm-hmm.
And the key is you want to stay on track. And that's what an emergency fund really helps you to do, is smooth out these surprises that are going to happen so that you stay in the game to continue to work on your finances. Because that's where, if you don't have an emergency fund and then you have this grandiose plan saying, if I, pay down this much to my student loans every single month, I'll be done in 2.5 years. But then you don't have an emergency fund and something happens where you're going to need $2,000. So then you have to pause your student debt pay down plan. And in a way, that's going to discourage you emotionally. So this is the whole concept about, we think that we can map out everything. We think we will be analytical, but we're emotional beings. And I think that emergency fund really just mitigates, helps to just kind of smooth out the bumps that are going to happen. And you're really preparing for those events to happen at the same time. Like ensuring that you emotionally stay within the game.
Okay. This sounds psychology of money-ish.
Yeah, very, very much. I mean, that's, I'm sure, a lot of other money gurus would say the same thing about, if we were, like I talk about it, how if I was analytical, I probably wouldn't have gotten myself into a 6-figure student loan.
Right.
Right. So then that was, like if I did all the math, I was very calculating, then I wouldn't have. It would just, I was too dumb. So I got myself into this, this mess. So it's irresponsible for us to not consider that in our plan.
You're in your quantitative methods class, realizing what you've done. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's talk about doubling your money. I think that's what's so addicting about gambling. You have the chance to put your money on black or red, and you have $100 and you can make $200, and you can do that in about 3 seconds. Or you can lose $100 in about 3 seconds. So your second step is the 401k employer match, where you can get that money. And my wife works for the VA, so it's tiered. Some of it is 100%, some of it is 50%, and then it falls off. But tell me a little bit about why that comes second.
Yeah, so 401k match, I think is one of those things where if you're not taking advantage of it, you're really leaving money on the table. So a lot of employers, I've seen it range between 3 to 6%. So if you contribute 3% of your income into a 401k, the company is essentially saying, we will match you that 3%. And that's, in a way, a 3% raise that you're not taking if you're not contributing that amount. So I feel like it's, way on top of the list just because that's money that you're leaving on the table. There's no other investments where you're going to get a immediate 100% return on, you put that 3%, you're getting a 3%. So it's just, it's just no-brainer in my perspective.
Yeah. There's the S&P 500 and there's 500 companies. All you had to do is pick one of the 7 out of the 500 to get a, not even the 7. I think only maybe 2 or 3 would give you a 100% return recently. So that's fantastic. I personally agree with your order. I know Dave Ramsey goes the other direction, which is number 3. Dave Ramsey says to pay your high interest debt first, but I still say if you're going to get a 100% match, that would be the habit to come into. Mm-hmm. But let's go into that high interest debt. I feel like they made a big deal of the credit cards going over $1 trillion. To be fair, everything has gone up in price. So obviously the numbers, the nominal numbers are going to be higher. Can you give us a little bit of finance in terms of explaining what real numbers are versus, I don't know if I'm saying it right. The number with interest the number if you don't account for interest. The nominal rate versus the interest rate. So just saying that when we talk about the amount of debt, that it's not exactly. It's actually. I'm not saying it right. I'll come back to it. But let's talk a little bit about high interest debt and how we have gone over $1 trillion as a country. But after the 100% match, where can you get over 20% in terms of a return on investment? And it sounds like that's what credit card debts are at now, a little bit over 20%.
Like 20%. So I guess you're saying by paying down high interest debt, we're saving those 20%.
I'm turning it into a quotation fingers investment. Yeah. If you cut the card, I guess, and say you've stopped the bleeding, you've stopped the spending. But just talk a little bit about not only high interest debt, but how do you pay it down? How did you become more? Because you had to have done this with your wife. You had to have partnered on something like this.
Yeah, definitely. So my wife and I, kind of going back to our student loan, our history. So when we got married, my wife had just graduated from nursing school, and then I just graduated from business school. So it was combined $105,000 of student debt.
Okay.
And then we went to a Dave Ramsey conference. So this is when I was introduced to the whole Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University, and he's completely anti-debt. And he introduces this concept called the debt snowball method, where you're listing out your debt, regardless of the interest rate, you're listing it out based on size. So your smallest debt goes on the top as the first one that you want to tackle, and then you put your biggest one at the bottom. And that's exactly the method that my wife and I used. We didn't refinance. We just went straight into listing out all of our debt from smallest to largest. I think the small ones we had were like maybe a couple thousand. To the larger ones we had, there was about 10 or so total. And then the larger ones we had were like in the 20,000s. And the big advantage of this method is really kind of going back to the whole idea of the recognizing the emotional aspect of how we behave. So once again, like, if we were to take the most financially, mathematically optimal approach, we would have done it by the interest rate, because we're trying to minimize the total amount of interest we took.
The debt avalanche, I think it's called.
I think so, yeah. That avalanche versus that snowball. You're right. You rank it based upon interest rate. So it's mathematically the most optimal, because you're paying the least amount of interest. But the key is with that snowball is the momentum. It's that extra kind of push to. Dave uses this term called getting gazelle intense.
Oh yeah, gazelle intense.
Gazelle intense. You're making this huge transformation and change in your life. So the key is, how do you sustain this for a long period of time in order to make a dent in a 6-figure student loan?
Sure.
And for us, that momentum of paying off that $2,000 student debt first, crossing it off, gave us that sense of accomplishment that motivated us to tackle the next one. That was $4,000. And once we pay that off, you just kind of start to see the progress. And then, it's not equally weighted, but, you get like 5 of the smaller ones done, and you're like, oh, wow, I'm like 50% there.
Yeah.
In actuality, it was like the 5 smallest ones, but still that motivated us to keep on going. It gave us that win versus, I think, if we start out with like the $20,000 one, you just don't see that progress. So you feel like you're chipping away.
Yeah.
And then that's when like life happens. So you're like, oh, this is just, like I'm not making progress. And then things happen. You just don't put enough emphasis on it. Your spending starts to, kind of fill in the little gaps, the extra money that you have, versus when you have the momentum, any kind of raise that you have, you're applying it towards the debt. And you're constantly looking for ways to, how do I optimize my expenses? in order that I can apply more towards the debt because I want to keep that momentum going.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like that. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of like Jerry Seinfeld. He gave that recommendation regarding to like new comedians. Like he said, hey, like, you know, how do I get good at writing jokes? And he had this thing about like
His calendar with
the calendar
X's?
thing, X's. He's like,
Yeah.
you do a joke every day and you put an X, and then you put an X on every day, and then you want to keep the streak going. So I think it was the exact same kind of that psychological method. It's like, I want to keep that streak going. So that's the method that we used.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. And then you go into the Roth IRA, which would be besides the employer match. Now we're really kind of getting into investing.
Yep.
Can you first just briefly explain the Roth versus the traditional, and then what made you put this as number 4 just before the triple tax advantage HSA?
Yeah. So Roth is a after-tax retirement account. So with a traditional 401k, you get a tax benefit upfront. So you don't pay taxes today, but you get to put that money into a tax-deferred account and it grows. Roth, it works the reverse. You pay taxes today, but your money grows tax-free. And when you take it out later, you never have to pay taxes again on it. So I feel like the reason I put the Roth here, and I feel like why Roth is important, is it kind of diversifies your overall tax strategy. Because later on, you want to tap into your 401k, but those are going to be taxed. But then it's great to also have a Roth IRA, which you already pay taxes on. So it gives you that flexibility if you want to control how much income you want to recognize in later years, that you have that Roth money available that you can pull out. And the Roth also has another advantage where the contributions that you put in can be taken out before you hit 59.5 without any penalty. Okay. So that's another huge advantage of, and it's the total amount that you can put in is capped at, I think it's like $7,000 now. So sooner you put in earlier, much better it is because you're letting that money compound. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. They just, they push this a little bit, but because I'm 51, my catch-up contributions have to be Roth in a couple years. So it's just something that they did. So can you talk a little bit about the HSA? My understanding is after retirement, or when people retire, that's the number one expense, or one of the number one expenses is healthcare.
Yeah. So HSA is a kind of like a niche account. In order to have an HSA account, HSA is a health savings account. You need to be participating for your health insurance a high deductible plan. So most insurance companies should offer it. Most companies should offer a high deductible healthcare plan. So it's hard. The nice thing about HDHP is that the premiums are lower. And so this is great for people who don't have recurring health issues. You just need something for emergencies. And then you're allowed to have an HSA with an HDHP. Now, HSA is what, some people will call it like a triple tax benefit, the secret early retirement account. Yeah. And the reason is because you get upfront tax deduction, just like a 401k or traditional IRA. You don't pay taxes money that you're putting in. And then the money grows tax-free. And then later on, if you have receipts for qualified medical expenses, you can withdraw that amount tax-free. So money goes in tax deferred, money grows tax-free, money comes out tax-free. So you're kind of like circumventing the whole tax system.
It's fantastic.
And one of the strategies to really take advantage of this is, unlike like an FSA where you have money, whatever money you put in, you have to use it that year. HSA, if I put money in today and my kid, or like I had a dental procedure for $1,000, I hold on to that receipt. I can withdraw 10 years from now $1,000 from my HSA as long as I have the record. So that's where you, in a way, like you spend today's money, the money that you pay taxes on already to pay for that dental treatment, but then you can withdraw that later, after the money has appreciated. So that $1,000 that you're pulling out is all an appreciation on the investment you put in.
So you could be paying your dental procedures with just the interest.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So this is the reason I put the Roth before the question that you asked earlier, before HSA, is because not everyone has access to HSA. So it's kind of a niche, and you also have to be participating in HDHP. So this is kind of an option that not everyone has access to, whereas Roth is something that everyone pretty much has access to. So
that was Tae and his first 5 tips, I guess you would call it, and then we'll do the next 5 in the next episode. But again, I don't mean to be preachy here, but when it comes to looking back and being satisfied with things, it really comes down to writing an honest letter of intent so that you know where you're going, and picking the wrong places to apply to is the number one problem that students have. They hear that it becomes so clear from their classmates which are the most popular sites and which are the ones that are going to get them the most prestige. There are some colleges that literally tell people where you have your job, and the reverence that some show is like, and accepted as a resident at the Mayo Clinic. And there is a pause, like this silence and appreciation that they receive this hyper-competitive residency. And I think that person will do great. But what I'm saying is that when it comes down to it, it really is okay if you don't get the very top residency, but you get a residency that's going to get you a job near your house, or that's going to have a residency that's going to allow you to spend time with your family, your friends, your kids, that isn't going to pull you away from your friends. So again, I think it all starts with a letter of intent, taking the time to do that. I think, go to residency.teachable.com. You can sign up there, and I'm happy to help you with it. But I think you need some introspection as you're going towards this. And that is the easiest way to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Get the letter written, but also make sure that you are visiting and applying to the right places. And don't forget, my big tip for ASHP midyear is always to stay after the showcase and go to the residents' poster presentations, because that's when you will actually get to meet them one-on-one, talking about their research and talking about their residency. And many of them are very candid with how their experiences are, and some of them are great and some of them are suboptimal. So we'll see you next time. And again, TonyThePharmacist@gmail.com if you need help. This has been the Pharmacy Residency and Money Podcast, a member of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. You might want to check out our available residency audiobooks at pharmacyresidencypodcast.com/books, or you can get your first book free if you've never been on Audible before. You can work one-on-one with me to get a better residency that will better suit your career, health, and wealth at residency.teachable.com. Feel free to send an invite to Tony PharmD on LinkedIn or email me at tonythepharmacist@gmail.com. Music was by Policy.